Hello and welcome to this time lapse. I'm going through a photo reference which I use from Ilona E Stefan. This is the 5th painting I've done of hers. I absolutely love her work. She's one of my favorite photographers. So I'm working on the Pastelmat paper here, and the color is the sand color. This texture is a little bit of a different sort of texture to any of the others. I can't really explain it, but it almost feels a bit more corky. I know that sounds weird. I don't know. Like the white one's very velvety. I don't know how to describe the texture. You have to feel it for yourselves. Anyway, I'm working on the sand paper here, the sand color paper, I should say. And it's a small piece. This piece is about 16 centimeters by 23 centimeters. And using a variety of pastels. I got my Terry Ludwigs and Art Spectrum and a few Unisons in this one. I love the coloring. It's a very simple palette, blues and violets basically, and that's what attracted me to the image. And also the simplicity, you know, you've just got a vase with some wild violets and then, you know, some quite a strong light coming in on there. So that's exactly why I chose this still life. And I also wanted to work on something small. I personally absolutely love small paintings. And I hadn't done one for a little while, so I thought, oh, let's do a small painting. So always, all my paintings always have a background. For me, it really just completes the whole painting. I do like work like illustrations, let's say that. Illustrations where, you know, quite often there won't be any background. But for the work I do, I like a background. So this is just a very simple, plain, bluey grey, smoky grey tones in there. And I'm wanting it to look soft, so really rubbing it with my finger. Yeah, so that's my background. I've turned my painting on the side, so sometimes I find I can just see better. It just helps me with my perspective, my shapes. So that's a good little tip. If you're struggling with something, something's not looking quite right, turn your work on the side or upside down and get a different perspective on it, and you may find that you are able to work easier on that part of the painting. So using a mixture of pastel pencils and pastel sticks. As I said, I'm working really small here, so this vase is probably only about 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters, so the pastel pencils come in really handy. But of course, they don't have as much pigment payoff as your actual pastel sticks. So I'm coming in with some soft pastels, but they're Rembrandts. Now, Rembrandts are a little bit harder. They're still soft pastels, but they're a little bit harder than, say, Unison or Art Spectrum. So I can get crisp lines on there, which is exactly what I'm wanting, with a better color payoff than a pastel pencil. Sometimes if I'm really struggling with the shape, I'll just cut out my printout and use that as a stencil. So spherical shapes are really tricky to get. Even looking at this now, I'm like, yeah, that shape's annoying me. Looking back on the time lapse, I think it's really important to get the shape correct when you're doing ceramics or cups or bowls or bottles, anything spherical and 3D. It's really important to get the shape right. So just use whatever tools you can. So I use like stencil, as I mentioned. This in the foreground that I'm putting on there is Art Spectrum from the turquoise set, and that's one of my favorite colors that I've got now from Mount Vision. 643. There we go. Absolutely love that color. So here you can, there's a little bit more of a close-up. I didn't go ham on the detail. It is for me a slightly more looser style painting, especially within the flowers. As you can see, it looks like blobs of color. That's basically what it is. It's exactly that, blobs of color. But the more tonal values and the shapes I put in there, it's amazing. You step away from the work and it comes alive, and you can actually make out what it is. But sometimes when you're honed in on a piece of your painting, because I'm copying, I'm looking at the reference photo all the time to have a look and see what shapes are there, and then mimicking those on my painting. So sometimes when you're looking at that close, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a hot mess. And then you step away from your work if you've got your tonal values right, and it's like, oh yes, that's making sense. I can see what that is. So I was having fun basically of just putting my shapes in. This is awesome. Mount Vision have really stunning, perfect purples and violets. Well, same thing, but anyway. And the camera decided to go Pete Tong at this point. Look how blue it is. It's completely wrong. This is not the real color. I can't figure it out, so just bear with me for a few moments. But yeah, it was way too blue, as you can see. But also in these dark violets, I obviously use some Terry Ludwig's from the Intense Dark 2 set. I think to date there has not been a single painting that I have done where I have not used that set. There are colors in the set I never use, and there are colors I use all the time. So yeah, that again was invaluable. Also Sennelier's Intense Blue number 463. Again, I've got a commission on my board at the moment, and it's a black dog. Well, he's black and he's also got caramelly parts on him. I'm sure there's a special term for it, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, and the black part of his coat, it's shining this beautiful blue violet, and the 463 will work well with other blue violets from Unison. Anyway, what I'm trying to say basically is 463 is another very, very handy color to have in your toolkit. Now we are back to normal color. There we go. See, not as blue. And my blob of violets hopefully is looking more like flowers and violets than blobs. I should get the color, but oh yeah, these Mount Visions came in a treat when painting these purple flowers. Absolute treat. So remembering I'm working dark to light, so even in my violets, I put my dark, a mid-tone, purple, and then a light purple. And that's how I'm building up to get this 3D effect. It's all about those tonal values. I'm telling you, your lights, your darks, and your mid-tones. If you've enjoyed this, you can check out in real time on my Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description below. Anyway, till next time, bye.